Hello, welcome to Cask Talk. I'm Paul. This is Dave. I am a beer enthusiast and drinker, and Dave here is a certified beer judge and homebrewer. And this evening, we are here to talk to you about the Jenny Lake Lager, which is a Vienna style lager. It is brewed by Snake River Brewing. They started in Jackson, Wyoming in '94 and changed hands, I guess, in '08. And it started as a brewery and restaurant. And the top of this can says, "Put our river through your liver." Kind of a cute little catchphrase there.
The Vienna lager style is one of my more favorite styles. I've brewed Vienna lagers often, very often. I tend to like I kind of spiced up mine a little bit. So I would use like star anise to kind of flavor it a little bit. And it kind of created a really kind of cool character to it. But a Vienna lager is almost like a lighter version of an Oktoberfest. So, and I know you and I both love Oktoberfest. They're kind of some of those beers that we...
What's not to love?
Yeah, loved with that like caramely kind of flavor. The Vienna lager is lighter on the caramely, lighter on the alcohol flavor, but it is very reminiscent of it. It's a style that almost completely disappeared at some point, was originated in Vienna and basically dissipated. And with a lot of people moving to America and Central America, you saw the style kind of reborn, and it's created a lot of flavors through the beer revolution.
Yeah, this is a 20 IBU with a 4.8 alcohol per volume. So I guess without any further ado, we should probably open and drink this.
Yeah.
Woo! That's a little fizzy.
Yeah, we may have let it hang out for a while.
One thing I can definitely say I've discovered is that most beers actually taste better, more warm than fresh out the fridge.
So this is a lager. So traditionally, probably aged in caves, ice caves at a cold temperature, fermented at a cold temperature.
A lot ahead.
So it does kind of have a unique kind of head to it. Seems to be dissipating, but has a lot of that initial foaminess, and it creates, I would assume it's going to create some pretty good lacing to it.
Well, it's got a nice deep color, so it's probably fairly malty.
Good, nice color. You can already kind of see some of that lacing kind of form. Not really moussey head, but kind of clings to the outside. I always kind of find it interesting because this head characteristic is influenced by a lot of the ingredients that we're putting into it. And the styles of beers really kind of follow those.
Well, it's got a very mild smell, or my nose is clogged.
Oh, it's got a mild smell, but it is a malty smell. A little like roasted caramely.
Oh, there it is. Smelling the caramel now.
I just had given you some kimchi right before this, which is probably a little spicier than Paul likes.
And yeah, that's probably part of why.
I have wiped out his...
It's definitely still in my mouth for the flavor. It's good. It's much sweeter than I would have expected with the 20 IBU.
Really good. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, the IBU can be really deceiving because the bitterness that you're tasting only is because if you create a lack of sweetness, that bitterness is really going to stand out. So even though 20 is maybe higher than, let's say, the last one we had, which is like a 12 or 14, but because the sweetness is higher,
yeah, it's really
creating this like leaning towards that sweetness, and that's what your brain's picking up on in your senses. So that's where that balance is so important.
It's got that
good smell to it, though. It really is a
cooked malt
malty,
undertone that to me tastes like burnt coffee.
Mm-hmm.
It's there, but it's not overwhelming to me.
Yeah, it's not like a stout or a porter or something
No.
like that. Those are like usually way over your taste profile, but um, this is well within reason.
Yeah. It's on the sweeter side. Definitely has that coffee flavor. Definitely noticing it now.
Good. It's got a little caramely to it.
It's got a reasonably thick mouthfeel. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
too strong, but it's not watery by any stretch. Kind of like drinking maybe apple juice or something.
Yeah. It's a little bit more bitter to me than something like that. Like it has a sweetness to it, but there is that balance to the bitterness. Like I think it's really well balanced. If I'm making Box or if I'm making a Oktoberfest or even a Vienna lager, I always lean it so much more towards the sweetness
Yeah.
because I'm trying to play around with that
Well,
aspect
the
of it.
stuff you got in the fridge right now that you made,
It's a
that's a,
Maybach, yeah,
that's a
or Hellerbach, yeah.
much sweeter beer than what I normally taste. Yeah, I don't know that I'm that much of a fan of this. It's good, it's quality, it's just not the direction I want.
Yeah. No, I'm actually pretty happy with it. But again, it's a little bit more the kind of style that I like.
Yeah,
So I like the things that are a little bit more malty, a little bit more caramely. I think it's well balanced. For me, it has almost a little bit too much bitterness. You probably would think maybe it doesn't have enough. But for me, I wish it was a little less bitter, even though it's not real bittery.
I don't know that it needs more bitter. It's more a matter of that coffee flavor. I'm really not a fan of it.
hmm I think presentation was good. I wouldn't say it's super amazing. I mean, there's some cloudiness to it, which is okay for, a craft beer. I think that the head dissipated quickly, but it has some pretty decent lacing. It kind of clung to the side, had some body to it. Color's good for what it is. It's probably a 7 for me.
All right, well, even still, like, I can barely smell it. I didn't really care much for the head, but the beer itself, it's beautiful. It's a really nice color. It's too foamy when I poured it, but I'm gonna be a little lower than you on that one. I'm gonna be at about a 6. I really like a good smell, and it's like barely even there to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the head doing what it did was kind of not a fan of that. But once again, it could be just me being harsh because I think my nose is starting to run. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and it may be just kind of a style thing as well. So one of the things we may want to try to do is maybe we'll do some examples where we try 3 or 4 different kinds of the same style of beer. And we talk about what it should taste and what are the characteristics and how each one kind of varies from the other. It's got a great taste to me. I don't mind the roasted, but I'm gonna probably hit a 7 on it.
I am at a 5.
Yeah.
It is just, I don't know. I feel the roasting is not something I like personally, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel it's a little almost underwhelming.
Yeah.
You know, I'm kind of expecting a bit more from something like this. It's this color at least, a little bit more oomph.
Yeah.
So there are definitely worse beers out there. There are definitely better beers out there. This is pretty much to me a middle of the road.
Some of the things I've done when I do my Vienna lagers is I back down on the bitterness because obviously I'm not a big hop person. That accentuates a lot of the sweetness. I up the caramel character to it. I downgrade a lot of the roastedness. This is probably more roasted than I would normally do.
Yeah.
I would do maybe this level of roasted hopness in like a roasted malt in a like Oktoberfest. for me, and that would probably be good. And then I accentuate it with that anise, because anise kind of creates this like licorice flavor, which kind of creates this licorice sweetness to the beer, and it really turns out well. This, unfortunately, I think it kind of leans towards a little bit more towards those kind of aspects of the beer style that I'm not as big of a fan of, though I'm maybe a little bit more forgiving because I really like the style of it.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean,
generally,
it's a quality product.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not bagging on that. It's just where I am so far for everything. So what's your overall on this?
Yeah, so overall, I'm going to go with the 7 because obviously I gave it a 7 in presentation and taste. Personal preference, I love the style. I would buy it purely because it just says Vienna Lager on it. But I'm going to give it a 6 on a personal preference.
Yeah. Well, for me, the overall, I'm going to give it a 6 because, like I said, it is a quality product, and I don't doubt that the brewmaster got very, very close to a bullseye on his target. I'm not knocking any of that. The quality is definitely there. It's just my personal preference. I'm probably going to put this about a 4.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, this is just not for me. I don't want to sound like I'm trashing it, and I don't have a problem trashing it because, a couple videos ago, I was not kind. But I just...
Well, that was kind of
not a good beer.
arguably a bad beer.
Which is rare.
To our taste. I mean, if you're a wine cooler person, that beer was awesome.
Anyway, so my personal preference is about a 4. Given the choice between a Stella or a Blue Moon in this, I'd probably take the Stella or the Blue Moon, to be honest.
I do a Blue Moon. I don't know if I do a Stella.
Given
I think you're overrating what Stella is.
I just like the way I like Stella, but as far as a lot of other beers, I'll take this over a Modelo. I'll take this over any of the common beers that you're going to find at any of the local convenience stores, more or less. So
we're talking about Jenny Lake Lager, Snake River Brewing Company. It's not someone I've ever had. Obviously, if you've ever they're in Jacksonville, right? Or
no,
Jackson Hole?
That was the previous one. They're in Jackson, Wyoming.
Jackson, Wyoming. Okay. So in Jackson, Wyoming. So if you ever get a chance to go up there, sounds like they got some good beer.
Honestly, I'd like to try some of their other beers. I don't want to rate a brewery on one product.
Oh, absolutely.
So
yeah. Well, hey, we'd love your opinion. I mean, if you're from the Wyoming area and you're familiar with this beer, it may be one of your favorites because, I mean, it's a good beer. We'd love to hear your opinions on it. So please tell us about it. If you have suggestions, let us know about it. We'd love to hear that as well. Otherwise, have a great evening. Cheers.
Like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah.
All those things. Have a great evening.